Have you ever called anybody named Melanie Melon? Sup, Melon?
I didn't want to get punched, so not yet.
Welcome to another episode of Moonshots. As you know, every week we bring in amazing guests, amazing people discussing their moonshot, but more often than not giving you the wisdom that you need to be able to go out after your own moonshot. The best episodes are the one where you actually get to answer your question. And this is one of those my favorite episodes where I'm actually going to be answering the questions you have been posting on YouTube, Instagram, on Twitter, and commenting. So, Mandy, take it away from here.
Yeah, so we actually started today, before we started filming, with some really interesting questions. And you said, well, let's just get rolling. And so I actually have my own questions for you. And since I am in the room and the people who send in their questions are not, I'm going to be very selfish and say, let's start with mine. I think it'll be interesting, though, for the people listening as well. So this involves cancer and some of the new developments around cancer. And I know that you are always very interested in that, and especially with Viome and trying to, create a world without illness, or where illness is at least optional and a choice. You probably have a lot of insights about this. And so there's a new kind of cancer treatment out there, and it's using our own immune system to attack the cancer cells. Because as you know, every cell has a lifespan. And in cancer cells, a lot of time that lifespan doesn't end. It just keeps going, and they don't actually have a normal death as most cells do, which allows them to multiply and not go away. Using our immune system to attack those cells makes them go away like a normal one would. And so the reason that I'm explaining this is because my sister's dog, our family dog, was diagnosed with cancer recently, and he started on one of these immune treatments. I know in this research that I've also looked into ginger and turmeric, as I know that food is the best medicine out there, as Viome would have me know. And what have you found in the latest cancer treatments and that sort of thing that really inspires you?
Well, first of all, Mandy, as you know, the cancer is something I've been just to some extent been really focused on for several reasons. As many of you people who have been following me know, I lost my dad to cancer about a year ago. Even before that, I was just learning about cancer because I was curious about it. But, since I lost my dad to it, I've been just really trying to understand, how do we get rid of this disease that millions of people are losing their loved ones to? And it turns out that, the cancer is one of the few diseases that we absolutely should get rid of. And I absolutely believe in the next decade, this disease will not exist. There is no reason for cancer to ever be in a human body. Our cells obviously sometimes don't act normal, and immune system is constantly cleaning them up. But when the tumor starts to grow or becomes cancerous, and as you mentioned, these cells just don't die. And many of the times they don't die because their telomeres is just actually never getting shortened, so they never get down to a point where the telomeres no longer allows them to divide. It also happens in many cases that they create a protective mechanism around them. In a lot of the cancers, what we are seeing is actually using the microbiome to protect themselves. So microbiome interacts with our immune system, and it tells the immune system, actually it modulates the immune system down, and it allows the cancer to grow. In some of the cases, in pancreatic cancer, that actually is the one that I lost my dad to, there was a researcher at New York University that actually saw that how the microbiome from the gut using bile duct moves to pancreas allows the cancer to grow. And this researcher injected the antimicrobial directly into pancreas, killing the microbes. And as soon as the microbes were killed, the immune system went and killed the cancer, right?
Wow.
Now, there are a lot of therapies that are coming along. Obviously, the chemotherapy is really giving you a rat poison and hoping that it kills the bad cells. And obviously, you lose any cell that's multiplying, and that's how you end up losing hair, right? It is a poison. There is no two ways about it. It just completely kills your body. The immunotherapy is really about enhancing the immune system to be able to go attack the cancer.
And do its job.
Right? And the third thing really we're starting to see is now modifying the immune cells to actually target the cells that are in the cancer. That means we are able to take the cancer cells, sequence them, understand exactly what it needs to bind to. We take our immune system cells, modify them to create antibody for those cancerous cells, and then you inject these T cells back into the our body, and our immune system now is laser focused on that cancer cell, and it ends up killing the system. So this immunotherapy has been around for a long time now. I would say probably about a decade, but recently it has really, really become good when we started to do what we call the personalized immunotherapy. And I think what really we found very interesting at Viome was that your gut microbes works very closely with the immune system.
And that's where a lot of your immune system is in your gut lining.
70% of our immune system is along our gut lining. And I think what's really interesting is that when people change their diet and modify their immune system, they see the effectiveness of immunotherapy increases substantially. In fact, there are many studies that are shown that they can predict the efficacy of immunotherapy by simply looking at your gut microbiome. And if you can modify the gut microbiome, you can make the immunotherapy more effective. So our hope is that we will be able to prevent cancer from happening in the next decade, and definitely to be able to actually cure, not just simply maintain, but to be able to cure the cancer in the next decade. And nothing will please me more to get rid of this disease that we have lost millions of people, and we continue to lose millions of good people.
And we're losing people even to the chemotherapy.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, I mean, even if the cancer goes away for a little bit, it comes back stronger, and then you can't use chemotherapy on it anymore.
Yeah, so I think, this is a disease that absolutely we as humanity have to get rid of.
Well, I love that insight, Naveen. And I mean, you make it sound so simple. I just want all the scientists out there and all the people that are really working on this to find the cure are listening to you and say, oh, that's all. That's all I've got to do is just that. Okay.
But the point is, if every single chronic disease happens because of chronic inflammation, right? So chronic diseases are caused by the chronic inflammation, and chronic inflammation is caused by the immune system. So if you can really balance the immune system, which comes from balancing your gut microbiome and the microbiome across your body. If you can do that, I really think we can bring the homeostasis to the body. The body is extremely adaptive. I mean, we really fight the infection every day. We fight the cancer cells every day. We fight the malformed cells all day. And these cells normally would just die. Right. And when the system is not working exactly what it's designed to do, that's when we start to develop these chronic diseases.
Yeah. When you talk about, using your microbiome and keeping that healthy so that we prevent these sorts of diseases, I mean, it reminds me of the Greek philosophers who talked about the very thing. And I know that these things that you're talking about are not new as far as technology. They're just, it seems like the scientists are finally employing what you talk about every day, which is moonshot thinking, which is like, how can we think about this in another way? It's not necessarily about magically having different tools. It's about asking a different question. And it sounds like that's what they've done, which is why we may have a cure to cancer within the next 10 years.
Mandy, I think you should really be the host. I think you know a whole lot more about it.
I don't know about that. Well, I do have all the questions, though, and I am going to stop being so selfish and start getting some of these other questions of your listeners. So we have Angad Dhawan, which I'm more than certain that I didn't pronounce that correctly, but I tried anyway. Sorry about that, Angad. Hi, Naveen. I'm 17 years old, and I want to make an impact. What advice would you give me on how to start? What is a simple plan I can follow to start a great business and for my future?
Well, I wish there was this magic silver bullet and say everyone should go out and do this. First of all, you have to really find something that you are obsessed about. What is it that you wake up in the morning and thinking about and say, I really want to dedicate my life to solving this. And once you find that purpose, that's what you're really going to be good at, because it can't be the purpose that I have that you are going to go out and dedicate your life to, because there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be more downs than ups. And if it's not the purpose that you believe in, if that's not something you're obsessed about, the first time you're going to have a down thing, you're going to bail out. Right. So really the only way to make an impact is something you believe in. once you find something that you believe in, that's where the beginning of the process is. Then you have to really spend a lot of time learning. So it's all about doing the research, reading lots and lots of stuff. And it's not just about reading one book or two books, because if you read only one book, the author's view becomes your view. When you read two books, you're able to get 2 points of view, and then you can decide. But really what I do is I read tens of books, so several dozen books, and then I'm able to see various point of view. And then me being a complete novice, I say, oh, here is how I think we should be thinking about, by taking all the 20 different point of views, and then I create my own point of view, and that's really where the solution lies.
Right.
I spend a lot of time reading the latest research on a particular topic, because what really happens is the things that you see in the lab today, it takes about 20 to 25 years before it ever sees the light of the day. So by reading the research, you're actually looking far 20 years ahead of what most people really see what's happening. So as you start to read more and the latest cutting edge research, you start to see where the world is going towards, and you say, if the world is moving in that direction, and if I start something, where would the world that be in the 3 years from now when I'm ready to launch this product, or a year from now when I'm ready to launch that product? And that means you're building your services based on where the puck is going to be, not where the puck is. And that allows you to use the most cutting edge innovation today, knowing where it is going to be in the year or two from now.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me. I do think that this is probably the most common question that you get, which is, hey, I'm inspired. How do I become successful? And it's like, well, there's a million different ways for that. There's as many different ways to be successful as there are people in the world.
That is correct.
And I mean, no one came to you and said, hey, Naveen, if you really want to be successful, just start a company that tries to tackle the problem of healthcare, of illness. I mean, that would be something that to me would seem so daunting that most people would just be like, I think I'll just start a T-shirt company.
But there's nothing wrong with a T-shirt company,
right,
as long as you believe in the purpose of why you're starting that company. It can't just be to make money, because when you start something just to make money, you generally tend to fail at it.
That's very true. And even when you still experience failures, even if you're working on something that you really love and believe in. And sometimes it does fail, but if you don't give up, it will succeed, because you'll be the only person that doesn't give up. So Sattigeri on YouTube says, good idea. Good ideas. The best Indians are in the U.S. Are there also any of the best Americans in India? If not, why?
Well, the fact is, it's not that Indians are any...
Well, I do want to say, I am not currently residing in India, and I've never been to India, so I don't think that that's true. There's probably not the best Americans in India, just by that research that I have. But anyway, now you can...
So, first of all, it's not that Indians are any brighter than any American or any other, I would say, country. I really think the most people, their view of Indians are based on the people who they interact with in America. And the fact is, if you see an Indian in America, they have gone through many, many filters. I mean, there are 1.2, 1.3 billion people in India. And let's assume that every culture, every country has 1% of the people who are really, really bright. So if you look at the top 1% in America, I would say they will stand up against any country. The top 1% of any country can probably all at par. Except that when you live in India, you have 1% is a large number of people. And all these people, when they go through the colleges, it is not like going to MIT or Stanford or Harvard, where they take 5 or 6% of the people to the college, which are considered to be extremely selective. In India, you want to go to IIT, you're looking at sub 1%, 0.1% of the people who actually apply, get admitted. And then these people then go out and they want to do a master's. And now you're looking at yet another filter of these top people who just went to IIT who wants to do the master's program, right? And then when these people want to go to America, then they get filtered again. So by the time you really end up here, you're looking at the people not only in just 1%, top 1%, you're looking at the 0.1% or 0.01%.
So it's not true that all Indians are geniuses.
No, unfortunately, that's just not true, right? In fact, just like you're saying that, a average Indian is probably just as good as average American. And the top 1% of Indians would be probably just as good as top 1% of American or French or German or Canadian even. Right?
Yeah, because we're just people.
We're just people.
I love that answer. That was a pretty good one because that was a weird question. So we have at my life is malicious, and it's malicious. So I don't think she's malicious. Probably Melanie or something like that. She's on Instagram. She says, "Why not save the earth, the one earth we have? Why live in a place that was clearly not made for humans?" I think she means the moon. "It is just that, from my point of view, financial resources should be spent on Earth first and the rest of the universe second. But if we can do both, why not?"
Yes. And so the answer really is that we all as a human species, if you look at all 8 billion of us or 7.x billion of us, all live on a single planet. We call that a spacecraft, really. And there is a single point of failure. If somehow our spacecraft gets damaged because we get hit by an asteroid, nothing that we can do about it. And every 50, 60 million years, you do have these things that do happen. So last time when we got hit by a large asteroid, or when we lost all the dinosaur species to that accident. Now imagine if the similar type of a large asteroid hit us. We as a human species will get completely wiped out. Right. Now, if we want to save the human species, we really have to create a multiplanetary society. So it's not because we believe we have completely screwed up our planet and we need an escape path to go to a different planet that we can also screw up. It really is about having a plan B if something happens. So we can, as human species, we can be on multiple planets. In fact, more than just our own solar system, you want to go beyond our solar system to different solar system in our galaxy.
And eventually something could happen to our sun.
Absolutely. Or even, my point is, living on the moon is probably not the best place. It is a good first step. Right? Because if Earth really gets hit massively, there's a good chance that moon will be impacted as well, especially its orbit, right? So I think ultimately you do want to be, say, in Mars or beyond. And ultimately, you want to be in a different solar system. In fact, you want to be in a different galaxy altogether. So there is really no reason that we shouldn't be able to do that. These, humans evolved to be on this planet, and they will evolve and adapt to a different environment wherever we are. So I really hope that we human species, we may not look exactly the same, but at least the human species can continue to survive in a different environment.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good explanation of it. We have one more I think we can fit in. Jeet Tasks on YouTube says, "I have been following you for a while, and I love your advice. My son is technically focused and has entered freshman year of high school. What are some high school projects he should look at that align with the spirit of abundance and thinking big?"
First of all, that's a great question. Anybody who is in high school really should be not thinking about as much about specialization, because any skill you learn in college, there is a good chance that by the time you graduate, that skill may be completely obsolete, right? So if you're trying to be, for example, a physician or a primary care physician, there is a good chance by the time you go through the college and then you go through the pre-MD, the MD, the chances are pretty good that we may not need a primary care physician, because at-home devices will be able to monitor your body, and AI will be able to come up with everything that's going on inside your body and make a recommendation.
And Viome will be making illness optional.
That's part of it, but I really think that there is no human being can understand all the massive amount of data that we'll be collecting about ourselves. So in that case, the artificial intelligence really will take over. If you're trying to become a lawyer, there is a good chance that 99% of the work that's being done by the lawyer can actually be done by the artificial intelligence, right? So it's almost, if we start to look at many of the professions that we know today may not exist tomorrow, but there'll be different types of profession. So my advice to really will be to learn to really learn about all the exponential technologies, because to me, if the person, your son is a technical minded, really have them go to listen to all the TED Talks, go to Singularity University and listen to the, about nanotechnology, learn about neuroscience, learn about genetics, and learn about all these exponential technologies and the confluence of these technology, including AI, that is going to disrupt every industry. So the more you know about exponential technology, the more you develop a mindset of learning to learn. By the time you actually graduate, more than just the skills, the biggest skill you're going to acquire would be the intellectual curiosity. So if as a high school student you can develop the intellectual curiosity, rest of your life you'll constantly be learning, and that's the only way we'll be able to survive in this world of exponentially growing technologies.
Right. It sounds like what you're saying is just get an idea of what's out there on the playing field, and then you'll know, it'll percolate in your own mind of what questions to ask when you're finally at that point where you can say, I'm going to do something about it.
That's right. And also learn as many things as you can, because most of the time the solutions happen to be multidisciplinary rather than unidisciplinary.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I love that. So this has been another episode of AMA.
Well, thanks a lot, Mandy. As I said, I love these questions. So please keep sending me your questions. If it's not this time, it'll be the next time. Your questions will get answered. So please keep in touch, and hope to see you again on the next episode of Moonshots.